back. You are now inside the hall with Pete Souza and a special guest. We're going to go left of circle right now and talk show business. Now, it's not show friends, it's show business, but this is my friend, and he's in the business. Damian Holbrook, welcome inside the hall, my man.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
TV Guide senior writer. You can get him on Twitter, at TVGM Damian. Why all the people tuning in, you think?
I honestly give it to the power of Ellen. It's not like there were huge blockbuster movies this year, like, the year that Avatar was up or Titanic. There weren't major blockbusters that were up for Oscars this year. It was solely on the power of Ellen, and she's got, she's in the top 100 social media influencers now.
I got a little nervous when she went into the crowd. I felt like maybe the show, because I thought she was terrific, her star, the Liza Minnelli joke. First of all, I want to ask you about that. Were you a little surprised by how she she may have hit below the belt?
Not at all. Liza's kind of an institution. She's kind of in on the joke, and I didn't find it to be like transphobic. Calling her a drag queen or a female impersonator is not transphobic at all. It's just kind of playing on the fact that Liza's at an age where she's a handsome woman, and a lot of men are dressing up like her for drag shows. I think it was just a lot of playing to that crowd, and I was the same way with you. When Ellen went into the audience, shows can go off the rails at that point, but she kind of held it together for the most part.
Was that selfie authentic?
I think it was. I think, a lot of people are talking about there was product placement because she was using the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and blah, blah, blah. But I think when you get that kind of crowd in those first 3 rows at the Oscars, you want to get a selfie with them.
But there were a lot of stars up for awards this year. You had McConaughey, you had Bullock, you had Brad Pitt involved with 12 Years a Slave. Do you think that contributed to the hype?
I think so, especially because, like you said, some of those movies, Wolf of Wall Street and American Hustle, were packed with the big stars. Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, this girl is, to kind of paraphrase the movie, this girl's on fire.
She is. She's kind of like, from a sports equation, she's like Tiger Woods, like around 2000, from 2000 to 2004 or whatever. Really, and anything she touches turns to gold.
Now she's at the top of her game.
Who do you think was the biggest or the most disappointed?
I think a lot of people are disappointed that DiCaprio did not get that acting Oscar.
Really?
I kind of saw that role as, it was a bit showy, but it wasn't great. It wasn't deep. I wasn't really surprised. I'm glad, I don't think there was any win that I was disappointed in. Usually there's one or two that I'm just like, oh, no, they were robbed. This year it was, I think Lupita Nyong'o was just spectacular, and if anything, I would give her another Oscar just for her gorgeous speech.
Damian Holbrook, TV Guide senior writer, at TVGM Damian on Twitter. So she had the best acceptance speech by far, you feel?
Definitely. Matthew McConaughey's was good, but it was pretty narcissistic.
You thought so?
Yeah. When you say that your hero is you in 10 years, come on, Matt, pull it together.
So who do you think looked the best?
Looked the best? Oof. I think Lupita Nyong'o looked stunning, except, and this sounds sexist, but when you don't have a lot of cleavage, to show it off, sometimes it looks like you're wearing a man's back.
Yeah.
But her dress was gorgeous. I think Jared Leto looks great, finally, because sometimes he looks like a hobo, but he looks pretty good. I thought, there was a lot of talk about Kim Novak, that classic,
What was the deal with that? First of all, why do you have her on stage?
Well, it's lovely to kind of pay some respect to the classic gems of Hollywood, but I felt like she was kind of indicative of our obsession with, you've got to be young, you've got to be beautiful, you've got to look good. This woman gave up her career and kind of disappeared from the limelight for the last 20 years, and she shows up having had some work done because, that's what you got to do to compete in this town.
Yeah. Who do you think was better performing, Pink or Bette Midler?
Oh, Pink. I did not expect Pink to be able to do that song so well.
And what about John Travolta? I mean, how does that happen, Damian?
Okay, I've rewatched that clip so many times, and I don't understand how he got the name so wrong, and then didn't correct himself. Like, he turned this woman into, like, I don't know, maybe some Bollywood or Pakistani performance artist. The name he butchered, I mean, her name is very interesting, Adina Menzel, but, you know, you go to rehearsal, you practice the song in the moment, you meet the woman. It was just bizarre. And then, you know, I'm sorry, we're not going to be distracted from a massive mistake by his bizarre wig.
Damian Holbrook, TV Guide senior writer at TVGM Damian. You can get him on Twitter. Now, Damian, I know you, and I know this about you. You are a gay male in America, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm a gay American.
So, for lack of a better way of putting it, now, this is a sports show, so I don't get fired. I want to kind of bring it back to the middle of the boat. Just recently, Jason Collins came out, I guess it was last year, and now he's actually back in the NBA, which is making news. And then a guy who will potentially be an NFL player, he will be an NFL player, Michael Sam is a linebacker who's expected to be drafted. Does the gay community care about this at all? Not that you can speak for everybody, but do you?
Oh yeah, no. I think, you know, not to speak for my people. I think it's important. You know, I think finally, because, you know, on all these dating sites and Grindr and all this, you know, there's all these guys that just because they go to the gym, they call themselves jocks. But now we actually have real gay jocks. We have, you know, like, we can look at these guys and be like, no, he's a jock. Just because you have a cut-off T-shirt doesn't make you an athlete. These guys are legitimate jocks, and they're going to be role models. And the great thing is that there's going to be, you know, some kids growing up at, like, you know, 7, 8 years old, whatever, seeing this stuff, and then by the time they get to that coming-of-age point, it will be over. It will be passé. We won't be going through these, you know, big moments of revelation. And I think it's really important. It's also important that they be good players. We need representatives who can actually play ball.
It's interesting. Charles Barkley, I know you were right. You mentioned before we got on the air, Deion Sanders was a guy who said there were gay guys on every team he played on, and Charles Barkley has pretty much said the same thing. And, you know, they said they didn't care, you know? And Jason Collins, oh, by the way, he's been in the NBA before, and, oh, by the way, he showered with these guys before, and nothing crazy happened.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, and I think it'll bring a lot more attention to the sports. You know, there's the potential for these franchises to get a ton more, you know, fans, a ton more participants, fill those seats. You know, all of a sudden we won't just be, you know, training the dancers, as, you know, for the halftime show. We'll actually be watching the game and rooting on our hero.
So, Damian, what can people expect from you? And anything to look out for on TV Guide? What are you working on now? Stuff that they can catch on Twitter or stuff they can catch online?
We're going into the spring season, which is, you know, a lot of new shows coming up. You know, we saw Bates Motel premiered the other night. Their new season is fantastic. A&E also has Those Who Kill with Chloe Sevigny. Showtime is going to have some of their new stuff, like Penny Dreadful, coming up. It's a very interesting time for cable television right now because network is really kind of their schedules are set right now. They've got their hits. They've got their reality shows. Dancing with the Stars will be back. You know, The Bachelor's wrapping up. But cable can really do that 13-week cycle. So there's a lot more interesting stuff. And the spring, I think, is going to be a really good time. We'll see Mad Men. We'll see the end of Justified. We'll see Game of Thrones coming back. And that's, you know, those are huge things.
All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you, who is the hottest star in Hollywood right now?
Right now, I would say male would probably be, at this point, Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
He is, you know, hot on the Oscar win. He's a True Detective, which people are obsessed with.
Great show.
And Jennifer Lawrence, man, that girl is, you know, everything she touches. She was the one that when you watched the red carpet, when you heard those screams in the background, it was because she showed up.
And you know what? The screams in the studio earlier were for you, my man. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, you know, finish into your busy schedule, and I will see you around campus back in Philadelphia.
Fantastic.